Hey guys, my name's Shayan. I am the owner of the Etsy store Cohibas and Crown, and I'm so excited to be on Caitlin's blog today, Teaspoon SF, to show you how to make a DIY Chandlu wrap bracelet. It's gonna look like this. And I have one on right now that I made before. I love making these bracelets. They're so much fun and they're so easy. Just once you get into the rhythm, it's just smooth sailing, and you can get together with a bunch of friends and put them together and just make a bunch of Christmas presents together, or you can do it in front of the TV, watching your favorite TV show, or just cozy in your room listening to music. It's beautiful weather out in San Francisco today. I could have just as easily taken my beads out and done this project in the park. I think it's really special to make handmade gifts for people for the holidays. I just think it's so much more unique and special, and they're not going to find that anywhere else. It's so thoughtful. It's really from the heart. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I did. I loved putting together this video and just this whole DIY project. So yeah, I just hope that you get creative with the different colors and the lengths that you do, and you enjoy making it. So happy crafting, and yeah, I hope to see some pictures eventually of some of the bracelets that you guys made. All right, take care. All right, I hope you're all ready to make your awesome DIY Chandlu wrap bracelet. It's going to be something that's going to look something like this. I'm sure most of you know what a Chandlu wrap bracelet looks like. But for some of you who don't, this is what it is. It's really simple. You only need 4 things to make this bracelet. One is just leather band, like what I use on this one is black, but today I kind of wanted to spice it up, and I got this really cool tan colored leather band. And then the other one is just medium-sized beads. The size really doesn't matter. As you can tell, these blue ones that I've chosen are quite a lot bigger than these kind of like peachy ones that I used last time. I don't know. I just kind of go into the store and I just pick whatever I think I kind of am vibing with, or whatever I think will just look good. And then you need some no stretch nylon string. This is a brand that I've used a lot before and I really like it. I got size 2 because I didn't want it to be too bulky. It can be pretty thick, and I just sort of wanted it to be, like delicate, and I want it to sort of like blend in with this tan that I'm using. Like before, when I was using this black one, I used black nylon, and you can't even see it at all. So, and then the last thing that you need is just a decorative button of some sort. I wasn't able to choose what kind I wanted yet, so I just grabbed a few, but I can just decide that later. And the last thing is just scissors, just to cut your string with. So the first thing that we're gonna do is you're gonna take your leather. Oh, which by the way, something that's super cool about these bracelets is that you can pick whatever color or whatever, bead, size, color, leather color, string color. I mean, you can pick like, black leather with pink string and purple beads. It doesn't really matter, and it can be really funky. And then you can, adjust the size. So as you can see, I have 6 loops going around on this one. I think today I want this tan one to be a little bit shorter. I think I'll only do 2 loops going around around my wrist. So, yeah, I'm gonna take my leather band and I'm just gonna match up the ends. And then I'm gonna go to the opposite end and I'm gonna tie a knot so that it creates a loop. And the loop is going to be determined, the size of it is going to be determined by the button that you use. So I guess I'll just use this one today. I think it's pretty cute. I think the silver will look nice with the colors. And the button is going to be tied at the end of your bracelet when you're done, but it's going to need to loop through here to secure it shut, like how I have it on this one. So you want your loop to be big enough to let it through, but you don't want it to be too big so that it keeps on falling out, or too tight so that you can't even get it in. So I think maybe something like that would be good. So I'm just gonna tie a knot around itself. It's just like a pretty standard knot that I'm sure most people know how to do. And then you can just adjust it as you're, tying it tight. And just double check to make sure that your button will go through. And it is. Sweet. Okay. So that's the first part. You got your knot. Okay, so once you have your leather tied off at the end and you've got your loop, you're ready to secure the nylon string to the end of it. You need a lot of this nylon string because you're going to be weaving it in between the leather to keep the beads secured in between these two pieces. And to be honest, I feel like no matter how much I unroll from the beginning, it's never enough and I always have to tie on more, which is fine. It's better to have less rather than to have so much that you just end up with it all knotted, and you can just get kind of overwhelmed if you're sitting in a massive pile of string trying to weave beads in and out. So I guess sort of my rule so far has been to have maybe 3 or 4 times as much of the as of the nylon string as of the leather, but even then it hasn't really worked out that much. I always need more, so just a lot. I don't know. I mean, I have about 4 feet cut off right now, and I think it's like a good amount to start off with. So what I did was I tied the string just around one end of the leather, and I tied it like 4 times just because I'm kind of obsessive when it comes to like tying things off tight enough. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it on the other side and I'm going to tie a knot on the other side too, just to really make sure that it's secure there and it's not going to move around, and so that my beads are going to be, you know, really nice and secure when I first get this started. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this over on the other side, and I am just going to tie a couple knots just going through here. And remember, I mean, this is really long string, so you just have to be a little bit more patient with it, especially in the beginning. So I've got it tied here. I'm just gonna try and make one more knot around it, just to loop it in place. And I think that should be good. So now I've got 2 knots at the end, and then I'm going to come back later. I mean, I could just even do it now. I'm just going to cut off like some of this extra string. I don't want it to be too much in my way. And yeah, so you've got this secured, and now you can start putting on your blue beads. So I've got my blue beads ready. I'm just going to cut this end, and I always like to keep a little tray or something handy just to keep my beads in there and keep them from sort of rolling around all over the place. They have a tendency to do that. This was just a plastic, like the lid of a plastic box of chocolates. So yeah, just recycling, things like that. You don't always have to go out and buy things. So yeah, I've got my blue beads here. I'm just gonna set this aside. So what you're gonna do now is you're going to, after you've got the 2 knots secured at the 2 pieces of your leather, I want you to just take the string and weave it in and out a few times in between the leather. Kind of, it's like making an infinity shape or like an over and under. So I'm gonna go over this, and then I'm gonna go over, and then I'm gonna bring it under, and then bring it over the other piece. Okay, so I'm just going to do that a few times, and then you can see it's kind of like woven like that, and it really just, it's my OCD side, it really secures the string and the leather. So you're just going to hold that there. You're going to find the end of your string. Remember, it's long, so you have to be a little bit patient. You're going to take your first blue bead, and you're going to string it, and you're going to pull it all the way back to the end. And the first piece is always, or the first bead is always a little bit tricky because it kind of wants to be like popping around. So you want to secure it there with your finger, and then bring the string over the other piece, and then you're gonna wrap it around twice, okay? Or like, yeah, once. Well, it's kind of like 1.5 times. Like if you can see that there's 2 loops there. And then this is where like you kind of have to start. There you go. You're gonna hold the bead in place with your finger. You gotta find the other end of your string, and then you're gonna put on your second bead. So it's really just the same motions, just over and over and over. You're gonna put your bead in. Ah! All right, so much for not having my beads fly over the place. All right, so got that all cleaned up. Just trying to get my string sort of untangled here. So I've got my first bead is there, and I'm about to put on my second bead. Now you can tell that the string right now is coming from under this piece of leather, right? So it's coming up like this, and it's really important now for my next thing that I'm gonna do is that this nylon string is gonna, because it came from under the first piece of leather, it's gonna go over the second piece of leather. So now it's going over, under, over, under. Okay, and so now I've got my second bead secured there, and again, you can tell that the nylon is coming from under that piece of leather, right? So I'm gonna, again, hold my beads. I'm gonna find the end of my string, hopefully without knocking over my tray. Let's see. And I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna get my third blue bead. I'm gonna string it, pull it all the way back. And, you know, I'm just trying to focus on keeping everything really tight in one place. And now this is gonna go over. It's gonna go over and then under, over, under. So when you're looking at it, you can see I've got like 3 beads right now in place. Right? And, you know, you can always be adjusting your thread and making sure everything is nice and tight. And again, you hold the beads kind of where they are while you find the end of your nylon. Get your 4th bead, pull it all the way back, and again you go over, under, you got 1 loop, and you do 1 more loop, over, under, and then you want to bring it across to the other side, right? So now I have to put another bead on. So again, you hold the beads in place, find the end of your nylon, string the bead, bring it down to the end. It's just the same thing over and over and over, and it does take some practice, but you get in like a little swing of things, like you get a rhythm going. And yeah, so, you know, it went under, and now I'm gonna go over. You can see that the string is coming from under this piece of leather. I put the bead in it, and now it's gonna go over this piece of leather right here, right? So I'm gonna hold the bead where I want with my thumb. I'm gonna go under, I'm gonna go over, I'm gonna go under again. So now you can see again, right? I've got like 2 loops here. And then you can see I've got my Chandlu bracelet going, and you just keep on doing that over and over. I'm gonna find the end. I'm keeping everything really nice and tight. I'm holding it all in place. I'm stringing it, putting it in between my two pieces of leather. I'm going over, under, over, and across. I hold my beads in place, find the end, string the bead, pull it through, put it in between my leather. You go over, under, over, under. And I want to show you really quick why it's so important that you keep, because right now you can see that the thread right now, because it's going under this one and over this one, I want you to see why it's so important to keep it like that. So if I were to just keep it like this and have the thread just coming across like this, and if I were to like put my bead in it, you'll see that it won't stay like flush in the leather. It wants to pop up, right? So the bead is just coming over like that, and I'm gonna do my 2 loops, right? But then you see that the bead, do you see how it's popping up? How it doesn't want to stay down in between? And that's because your string, it's on top of these. It's not going over and then under. It's really important to always keep that like infinity or 8 sort of pattern with your weaving going. So it'll keep the beads, you know, flush. So now it's going over, and then instead of going over it like this, I'm going to go under it. And that way it keeps the bead nice and aligned with my leather. And I do my 2 loops. I can, you know, kind of pull it straight, make sure everything is aligned. And then I just do it again. Keep the beads in place with my left hand. Well, I guess, or your right hand too. I mean, it really depends if you're a lefty or a righty. I'm a righty, so I use my right hand for stringing the beads, and I use my left hand for just sort of keeping all the beads that are already strung in place. Pull it through. You kind of learn how to use all your fingers when you're doing this bracelet. It's like you're sort of multitasking in a lot of ways. So, got it like that. I'm going to go under and over, as you can see, once, and then under again, and then on my way over, I'm gonna get another bead. This is gonna look really cute. I'm really excited. It looks kind of like Native American-esque. I mean, with like the white string and the tan leather, and like the blue kind of looks like turquoisey. It's gonna be really pretty. Or I think so. I mean, you know, to each their own. Everyone has different tastes. So yeah, one last time. I've got this, and we're just gonna go under, under, over, under, and then over. And honestly, you just keep on doing that just over and over and over until you get the length that you want for your bracelet. Yeah. So as you can see, I've been working on weaving the beads in between the leather, and it's gotten a little bit longer now. And I just wanted to mention that every now and then I just like to sort of tug on the leather and make sure everything is just sort of like falling in place and it's all aligned. Just be careful not to pull on the leather too hard, because I've definitely done that before and ripped the leather and then my bracelet was way shorter than I want it to be. So just like pull on it. I feel like it just sort of aligns everything. It's kind of like going to see the chiropractor. Yeah. And just make sure everything is kind of straight and nothing is kind of gnarly or bent out of shape. Another thing I wanted to mention is if you ever want to just tie this off and kind of put it on pause and go do something else. I know not everyone has, just a huge block of time to sit down and bust out a whole bracelet. So what I like to do is I will just weave my string kind of in that 8 or in that infinity pattern, like going over, under a few times, just to kind of like seal it or like sort of keep it in place. And I'll just maybe loop it just around a few times. So, you get something that looks like this. I mean, it looks kind of messy and weird, but you got it like that. And then I'll just get a piece of Scotch tape, which I don't have on me right now. Oh, yes, I do. This isn't exactly Scotch tape. It's like the kind of tape you get at a post office. And I'll just rip off a little piece. And I'll just sort of wrap around it like this and just, keep it in place. It's normally pretty weak tape, so it doesn't ruin anything. And you can just leave it like this as long as you want. It'll just stay in place. And you can go cook, hang out with your friends, do whatever. And then when you come back, it's pretty easy. You can just rip it off. Of course, now that I want to show that it just comes off really easily, it doesn't want to come off. Or you can just cut it off with some scissors. Just be careful not to rip your thread. And there you go. Comes off. Just open up or like unravel the string, and you can just get started right where you left off and keep going. Okay, another thing I wanted to show you is if halfway through you find that your thread runs out. I haven't come across that problem yet, but I just want to show you, like, if you run short, I'm just going to cut mine just to, obviously you want your bracelet to be longer than that. You don't have enough of the thread. It's super simple. Just tie a knot, like a double knot. Just get another piece of string, like an extension, however long you want, and then just tie a double knot with the 2 strings. And then once you get that, if I can even make a double knot. Once you have them tied together, you can just, get it nice and tight. You can trim off the extra, and that knot is just so tiny that you're not even going to see it. You can just, bead right over it. And yeah, you can just, trim off the oops. Okay, something else I want to show you is what to do if your string runs out. I cut my string just so I can show you how to fix this. All you have to do is just take whatever additional amount of string you want, your kind of add-on, and you just tie them together. I feel like this kind of a knot where you loop them around each other, around like itself, is a little bit stronger, and it holds just a little bit better. So just tie your knot. It's going to be so small anyway that you're not going to, there you go, yeah, just pull it super tight. You can just bead right over it. No one is going to see it. And then you can just, trim it short, right? And then you can just keep on going. And then this little extra piece is probably going to just end up getting covered by a bead, or it'll just be so small that you won't even notice it. It'll be hidden by the beads for sure. So yeah, and then you can just keep on doing your thing and making your bracelet. Hey guys, so the bracelet's getting pretty long. It makes a full wrap around my wrist, so I have just one more to go. I just wanted to kind of come back in and show you guys what the rhythm is like once it really gets going, like once you get really in your groove. It goes something like, you know, bead. And then you just go over, under, across. You find the end. Bead. Oops. And then again, just over, under, across. Bead. Oops. Put it in place. Over, under. Okay? And another thing you can do is actually, I do this a lot, I will just run my fingers kind of like up and down it to adjust my beads, because you can see kind of right here there's a little bit, kind of a lot of space, and I don't really like that gap. I can just go like this and I can just move my beads down and get everything aligned. So you see I just kind of scooted these down, and now there's no space in between them. So I go like that every now and then just to make sure all my beads are in place. And then you just pick up with your rhythm again. String the bead, pull it through, hold it in place, over, under, across, string your bead, oops, you string it, pull it through, just go again, right? Going over, under, and across. Alright guys, so I've kind of gotten to the end of my bracelet. It wraps around twice around my wrist, so it's time to tie off the bottom of the bracelet and then add the button. So what I do at the end of the bracelet is essentially I just make like a billion loops and knots because I really am OCD. I just weave it in and out, like over and under a bunch of times. You don't want to do it too much, just so that you can have extra, like enough string left over to actually tie it off. So I'm gonna just string this through, if I can get it to go through, that would be pretty awesome. I'm just gonna string it through like that, through the bottom, and then I'm gonna pull it around so you can see it's kind of like making a loop around there. I'm gonna pull it tight so that this button doesn't have a lot of room to move. I'm gonna do one last sort of like adjustment here to make sure all my beads are in a good place. Just getting everything sort of aligned. And then I'm just gonna do that same thing, like, let's see, I'm gonna just go like that. I'm gonna keep a loop of it in my finger. I'm gonna put it through, and I'm just gonna tie a knot by putting this through here, through there. I'm pulling it tight. I'm gonna do that once. I'm just gonna do it one more time because it's just like the inner OCD in me. And then I'm gonna pull it, you know, just make like a double knot around it, and then again pull it through. And that should be good to go. Maybe I'll just do one last one. I honestly could go on for days and days just tying knots and just like making sure that everything is really secure. just at the base of this, just because I don't want it to open. I'm just going to pull it super tight. Okay, fine. Just one last one, I promise. See, this is what happens when I just really don't want this to open. Like, if I'm making this for someone, I don't want it to be flimsy. So, okay, one last knot. Boom. And then you're just going to trim off your string. And voila, you've got the end of it. Next step is to add the button. Okay, so the last step is to secure the button. I decided to use a different button in the end. I kind of had a change of heart. I kind of wanted to use this one. It's really cool. It has like a star pattern on it, and I just kind of vibe with it more. So it's pretty easy. Oh, one thing is when you buy your leather, make sure you leave some extra room at the end. I kind of have a little too much extra, but it's better to have more than to have less because you're going to be tying a few knots and you don't want to run out. So you're just going to string your piece of leather. String the button through the piece of leather, and then you're just going to tie a knot with these two just around, and just pull it tight, super tight. And that's kind of it, you guys. It's pretty easy. You got your bracelet, you got your button, and then you can just, cut this wherever you want. Sometimes I know people like to maybe just tie a knot at the end of each piece of string. So maybe I'll just do that too, just to like extra secure it. As you know, I'm kind of crazy about tying knots to make sure things are secured. So just pull on it, and then you can just trim it down. Alright guys, so I secured my bracelet, and I ended up just tying a couple extra knots on the end of each piece of leather. If I want to put it on, let's see if I can do this one-handed while trying to keep it in the shot here. I don't know if you guys can even see what I'm doing. I'm surprisingly not that good at getting these on by myself. Oh wait, there we go. Yeah! Woohoo! And you've got your own beautiful handmade Chandler bracelet. And honestly, guys, I made this in an hour and a half tops. Hey, how are you? Oh, what's that? You like my bracelet? I made it myself. Thanks. Want me to teach you how? It's really easy. That will be you after you make this awesome bracelet. And your friends are going to be complimenting you, and you're just going to be so cool because you're going to get to say that you made it all by yourself. And no, you did not spend $200 buying it from Chandlu. So you win. Happy holidays, you guys. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope all your friends who are lucky enough to get these from you really love them too. I know I do. Bye.